Well, welcome back to Chapter 2, Part 2 of the second greatest story ever told. And it wasn't supposed to be a Part 2. Chapter 2 was supposed to be complete on its own, but after several tries of uploading the video to YouTube and having it fail, I've decided to drop back, punt, and see what I can do at a later date. So without further ado, let's move on. Alright, let's go ahead and try and take trapezes. Looks like the gates are open. Not exactly that good because we're still going to have to fight our way inside it. It just means we don't need to build a battering ram. Balance of power is slightly in our favor, but we can't afford to auto-resolve it because of the casualties we'll take, and it'll be too difficult or too expensive to rebuild. So we'll go ahead and fight this and see if we can't keep the casualties down. You go and take others' lands, and they will come and take yours. Well, we're going to come and take yours, baby. But first, I think our general is going to have a little speech to give us.
The smell, worse than any camel, is the enemy. Fear has unmanned them. Fear of you, oh brave warriors. Fear of you. Now shout out to the gods. Shout your battle cries. Put true fear into the hearts of our enemies, oh noble soldiers!
Well, that's not going to motivate our troops nothing well, so let's go ahead and see what we can do. I do believe all the gates are open. So we'll see if we can't find, well, there's a tower. That's going to cause a little bit of problems, but I think we can justify our troop locations and avoid that. Maybe. There's the town square. Oh, and there's a gate that's open as well. So that might be a place to put a troop or two, a couple of troops to split their forces, or if they concentrate, maybe we can come in and flank them. Other than that, it should be pretty straightforward, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything with me in overall command, so hopefully I won't screw this up too badly. Okay, as I finish up looking over the city and begin to place my troops, this might be a good place for a little bit of Armenian history. So gather around the campfire, and here we go. According to Greek mythology, Armenis was one of Jason's Argonauts, and it is he who founded the nation of Armenia. If we go on the historical approach, Herodotus, and let us remember that one of his nicknames is the father of lies, say that the Armenians originated in Thrace and then migrated westward through Phrygia and crossed the Euphrates River and kept going into what is now Armenia. Strabo, I think in the 1st century A.D., states that the Armenians come from two places. One group was from Phrygia in the west, and another from the southwest in the region of Mesopotamia and Zagros. Well, looky here. We can avoid any towers by placing our troops here to begin with. Now back to the history lesson. What Strabo is suggesting here is that the Armenians are not the original inhabitants of the territory, but rather they moved in on territory that was already occupied by the failing kingdom of Urartu. Now, I can tell you that this is all propaganda written by the Greeks in order to give a Greek stamp or a Greek flavor to the whole region from the Black Sea coast and Asia Minor. What really happened is this. Noah's Ark had landed on or near the top of Mount Ararat, and when the waters receded, they were able to disembark and lived for generations in the lands of Armenia. Later, they would move on to the land of Babylon. Now, the patriarch of Armenia is Japheth, a son of Noah, and one of the descendants of Japheth was a man by the name of Hake. And Hake was unhappy with the wickedness that was Babylon, so he decided to lead his people out of that land and back to the land of the Ark. Now, this was not an easy task for the Armenians to accomplish, for the Babylonians and their ruler Bel opposed this decision. A struggle ensued. A great battle was fought, and good conquered evil when Hake slew Bel in the fierce battle. Hake was then able to lead his people back into Armenia. A later descendant of Hake, a man by the name of Parir, and I hope I had that pronunciation right, would go on to become the first ruler of the Kingdom of Armenia. And there you have the actual story of the founding of Armenians. Let that be a lesson to you all. Never trust the Greeks. Because of Hake, Hay means Armenian, and Hayastan means Armenia in the Armenian language. I'm going to go ahead and put that unit up there to see if I can't get the AI to divide its attention between our forces. I'm not going to worry about them sallying out because they're not going to do that. And if they don't bother to deal with him, I can maybe sneak him in and maybe cap the square if I can draw the rest of them into battle with my main forces. Okay, go ahead and skip the troop placement and start the battle. The strategy here is going to be something I'm going to keep through the entire game, and that is get the missile troops in range and do as much damage as I can to their troops via missiles before I attempt to enter hand-to-hand combat. And that's just all there is to it, especially in some place like this when I don't have to worry about Tylers firing back at me and if they don't have enough missiles. Eventually, I can push in and hide behind buildings and just keep raining it down, and then once I do as much damage as I can, we'll push in hand-to-hand. Already, their troops are beginning to melt. They're not heavily armored. The interesting thing about this version of Rome is they actually track where the shields are. So if you're firing on the right side, traditionally where the weapon is held, they don't get a shield bonus, and if you're firing on the left side, you'll have to deal with the shields. But those guys up there are just Chevaliers, they don't have any shields with them. We'll just go ahead and push forward, and they're going to keep, looks like, going back and forth, and the more they do, the more they're going to lose. Now, the downside to that is I am going to spend a lot of ammo on troops that aren't necessarily the best quality of fighters, so it might be something to be said with not wasting all that ammo on them, but we're just going to go ahead and do that, and eventually we'll push into the city, and we should have enough troops to keep going. But as you can see, all of my guys are beginning to just do damage, and that group of people is about done in. We'll just see what happens, and eventually we'll just keep it slow and steady, push in, keep our range up. And like I said, once that's done, we'll either go in hand-to-hand, or maybe we'll be able to send in the cavalry. But I do believe I'm keeping a group pinned out there by the gate up in the upper right-hand corner. It's probably the eastern gate, because my troops there are not moving, and they're not going to move their troops. And it looks like I am not within range, so I'll push in here with my troops and set up a defensive pattern in this alleyway or small roadway, I don't know what you want to call it. And behind them, I'll move in my missile troops, and I'll slowly but surely just push up until I'm within missile range. It's going to be kind of boring, but I'd rather be boring than lose troops that I don't have to lose. So, slow and steady is going to win the race. I'm going to push forward with my infantry to provide a screen for my missile troops. As you can see, these guys are stuck there, and they're missile units, and I'm out of range, but they're not going to move, and I'm not going to move, so I'll keep them held up there. These guys are eventually going to get their act together and push forward. Then I'm going to move my missile infantry and missile cavalry into the city. And I will be within range soon enough to begin taking out people on the square. And there's no need to get into combat until the very end. Just do as much damage. I think there's looks like a group up there. They're not in the fight. So once again, this is just going to be a slaughter, I do believe. I'm going to get those guys running.
General, units!
And eventually, my troops will get into position. We'll start raining down death. I don't think the guys guarding the open gate facing my troops are going to move anytime soon. So they're going to be out of the fight, and eventually I can maybe shoot them from behind. The reason I'm not moving my troops around the outside of the city is that they do have a couple of small towers that will cause my troops unnecessary damage. So if they didn't have them, I would do a double envelopment on either side because I think I can get the range in with some of my missile cavalry and such. But for now, we're just not going to worry about that. As you can see, sometimes the pathing for the troops is a little tricky to get them put up the way you want to, and you just got to keep drawing the battle lines, and eventually you'll get it to where it needs to be. And another thing to be aware of is that these troops in the city square look to be hoplites, and those are going to be a little bit tricky for my lower level troops to take on without taking a lot of damage. So again, raining down missiles is the way to go. There you go, there's an example of one of those missile towers that they have. Or I suppose you could call them missile shacks. Unlike the towers in the walled cities, these don't fire inward, so we don't have to worry about them taking out our troops from behind. Alright, while we move our troops around, get them into position and such, why don't we do a little more history? I'm trying to take the city of Trapezes, which today is now known as Trebizond, if you're in English, or the Turks call it Trabzon. In the world of Rome Total Realism, the game we're playing, it's an independent rebel kingdom. In the real world, around 280 BC, the time this game starts, it was part of the kingdom of Pontus, and, if we are to believe the Greek sources, it was already about 475 years old. When Xenophon and his crew of 10,000, which is I think a curiously round number, were fleeing the Persians after working for the wrong side in one of the many wars of that region, the first Greek city that they ran across was Trapezes. They ended up fighting in the Civil War, and the city of Trapezes came out on the winning side because of their participation. Long part of the Achaemenid Persian Empire, it will eventually gain its independence after Alexander the Great's conquest of that empire. So, there you have it. And now, our troops are all moving into position. Slow and steady. I don't know why I didn't speed this up, but, oh, there we go. Get them, at least we can get them to start running. And, oops. Looks like we've got some movement towards our way. We'll just shoot them and then we'll have to get out of the way. But, ooh, slingers. That's not good. But they shouldn't be able to catch the horses, and I should be able to do a lot of damage with all the missile fire that I have, so we'll just kind of keep them here and bait them into the point. Oh, and we're in range with our missile weapons up there, so we'll just keep pushing in with the slingers, as the second group of slingers, and our arrows will begin pushing up. But, as you can see, we've already done a lot of damage to these guys. And we haven't taken any casualties in return yet, so far, so good. The man who jumped off the Empire State Building was heard to say as he passed each floor, so far, so good. And now, our other troops are in range, and so those guys are going to go down really quick. And I think we're going to be baiting the hoplites off the plaza quite soon. And I do believe the other unit of missile troops is still hung up by the east gate because we haven't moved in with our troops yet. It's gonna hurt when they finally do close with us, but eventually there's nothing we can do. We're gonna have to fight this out in the end eventually. What are they, retreating maybe? Yeah, I don't think they quite want to try to take a piece of us just yet, and that's great, because if they're going to turn around, oh no, they're coming back. But every time they decide to retreat from the square, they're going to get caught from behind, and we're just going to do more damage to them. But now it looks like they're coming in strong, and let's just see what happens as they crash into our front line. Boom. So this is our best troops versus their best troops. I did forget, I don't know if I should have put them on fire at will, because my heavy infantry does have a couple of javelins a la the Romans, but I don't think I had them on fire at will, or maybe I can't, and I actually have to tell them to throw their weapons before they do. We'll go ahead and continue to fire on their troops in the square. I don't know. I might be able to help these guys out by rushing in with my other guys, or hopefully maybe I can cause, yeah, if I can get around to the side maybe just the presence of troops will cause a morale beacon for them. Still got troops firing on something. Down to 73 already. Good, but I do have overwhelming numbers against these guys, so I should be able to make them rout. And I've got all my missile troops coming in to within range. Might be able to work around the side here. Well, my troops are taking it in the teeth, the infantry. Their missile troops aren't melting anywhere near as fast as I thought they would. I thought, quite frankly, maybe it's a bit of hubris on my part, because quite frankly, I thought I'd be doing a lot more damage to them than I am. I understand that the hoplites are difficult to engage in battle, but quite frankly, these guys really aren't fading as fast as I thought they should be, because I am just unloading on them and nothing is happening. What I'll do is I've got to get better. That's what I've got to do, and I am doing a terrible job of this battle. Again, this is what happens when you're not as good as you think you are. But look at that, 50. These guys are getting pounded, and they are just not fading. And I didn't think they were that heavily armored. So that's all my fault. Meanwhile, my infantry is just getting, well, they're getting hammered by a combination. Well, there's no, you see, they're just not, well, they're turning around now. So that's going to be hopefully a little bit good on our side, but they are surprisingly resistant. And these guys just aren't dying at all, although my guys are getting hammered. Maybe, just maybe, some of that is my fault because I'm shooting them in the back. I thought that I could arc my missiles over them and do more damage, but as you can see, my lightly armored infantry is dying in droves. Oh wait, there's my faction heir getting hit from, no, not anymore. Oh, that's because he's standing in the way of that stupid tower that I knew was there and I did nothing about. This is rather embarrassing. Down to 40 and 45, that's no good. Well, hopefully I will get better as the game goes by, because this is just quite frankly getting embarrassing. There is no excuse. I don't think I'm making good use of my troops. Not at all. I'm still, I do believe, holding up part of their missile troops with mine over there that you can see up in the upper right-hand corner. I do believe that's the eastern gate. But look at that, down to 35, 34. My heavy infantry is just taking it in the teeth. Well, they're not doing. I mean, they're doing damage, but nowhere near as much as they need to be doing. Hoplites are tough, but I should be better than I am. Way better than I am. I still got missile troops firing, but I'm just not doing that much good at all. I'm just watching my troops whittle their way down. Maybe I think it's time maybe to withdraw, see if I can't bait them further into it. But if I withdraw, I'm going to take even more damage. Down. Oh, my infantry is just fading fast. And that's my only hand-to-hand combat troops. So once they go down, I'm going to be stuck with nothing but missile troops, which still should be able to do the job. It's just the replacing my troops is going to be expensive. But on the upside, my upkeep will go down a lot.
General!
Well, here they come again. Not quite sure what I was doing there. I am recording the audio for this at a different time, as you can probably tell. Their missile troops are down to 31, finally. However, my infantry is just taking it in the teeth in this battle. Can maybe, if I can whittle those guys down or get them to withdraw, there we go. Now they're going to turn around again, and they should be taking a lot of casualties every time they turn around and expose their back to me, but they're just not. This is baby's first step, although this is what, my second battle. See if I can't withdraw these guys, get a better setup going. I'm trying to keep some of my troops in reserve so that I have missile power, still have missiles, but maybe the mistake here is not committing all my troops around as I should. I don't quite know what's going on. But as you can tell, the infantry is almost done. Let's see if we can't salvage any of it, but that wouldn't be smart. And there goes almost the last of the light infantry. They have just had enough, but they're about wiped out. And oh yeah, there we go. This is not necessarily the smartest thing to do. In fact, it's really kind of stupid, but hopefully I can push the issue. And I mean, these guys are just dying. My troops aren't doing bad. I'm a little worried, of course, that in hand-to-hand combat, either the generals could go down, but if not, they can force the issue, and if I get them to retreat, I can take them from behind. We'll get the horsemen out of there. I think I had enough of fooling around with these guys. I've kind of pushed the issue, I think, as much as I dare to with these generals. I don't want either of them to go down. But If I can just break those guys, they're not going to have much to be able to deal with.
Kill them!
All in all, an embarrassing moment on my part. They're going to chase after us, I hope. I should be able to get my guys out of there, what remains of my heavy infantry. I can at least, there we go. See, there we go. Now, they should be taking just a lot more damage than they are, but for some reason, that is just not happening. Still do have a lot of ammunition from my missile troops. Bring these guys out of the alleyway. I can maybe attack them from the flanks, and that should do a lot of damage, but I should be doing a lot of damage. Alright, now I should be able to hammer these guys from behind. There we go. At least they're broken. If they break, I should be able to pretty much destroy them all. And that's going to leave almost nothing for them to deal with. And there goes the enemy general. Well, at least I've salvaged that. And so the rest of this will be just mopping up their troops up there. And again, at least I've been able to save enough of my ammunition to make that a reality. And we're just going to have to get better next time and see what we can do.
March! Move out! Move out quickly! Move out! On our way! Run! Units! Units, advance! General! Forward, General! Get the General! Forward! Units! Units, advance! On our way! Forward! Helters! March! To the front! Move up! On our way! Units! 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 Advance! Units! Advance! Helters! Destroy them! Units! Units! Advance! Units! Units! Advance! Attack! Units! Units! Attack! Units! General! March! Forward! General! More archers! Attack! Helters! March! With all haste! March! General! Forward! With all haste! Units! Helters! March! March! Move! Move! More archers! Destroy them! Slingers! Slingers! Archers! Destroy them! Slingers! March! On our way! Archers! More archers! General! 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 Units! Units! March! Units! General! Attack!
All right, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I don't think there's any way that you can. I just did not perform well in this battle at all. I mean, none of the losses are insurmountable, but I didn't make the best use of my troops by any way, shape, or form. I should have won this a lot more handily than I did. I had the ability, and I just don't know why I didn't make better use of my troops. I'm going to have to find someone to blame, because obviously it's not me. I mean, I've been in the fight business long enough to know that if you can blame somebody else, go ahead and blame them. But, yeah, this was not pretty under any metric that you can do this. The only thing is at least I won. But, although not a Pyrrhic victory, it was an ugly victory and not one for the record books. We're gonna have to do much better next time if we want to succeed in this game. It's a lot more brutal than the original Rome, and based upon this is not boding well for the future. But we will see what the future brings. Well, as usual, there are a lot of things I need at once, but I can only have one at a time, and I think that one thing needs to be a road so that I can get my troops back and forth. Gonna have to send some of these guys back home to get repaired and rest up, and then continue on.
Mighty General.
If anyone managed to stick around through this rather gruesome affair, I thank you very much.
Mighty
And
General!
hopefully I will see you for the next installment of the second greatest story ever told. Thank you very much for watching.